What's up, Stitches? My name is Michael and welcome to or back to my YouTube channel. As always, we have Suspicious. Currently he's mid-vent, so someone hit that emergency button. But this video is a continuation of my last video, the Folklore cardigan. I am knitting the front piece in this video. As you will have noticed, didn't have a video last week. I'll talk more about that at the end of the video, so hold on, don't be concerned. Also, yes, I've dyed and straightened my hair. I'm getting bored. I'm getting real bored now, so I'm having to try and find things to do that's not knitting. A couple of little updates from the last video. I had no idea that the Folklore cardigan was actually sold out at the moment. I don't know if it's going to be coming back in or whatever. If you wanted to buy them, you had to get them on eBay. And they're all like 170, 180 pounds, which is a lot more than it was originally. So they're in quite high demand, so watch this video if you want your own, because otherwise you've got to pay through the tooth to get it. And some of you may know that Lion Brand have actually brought out their own pattern for it. It's also free to download, and I had a look over it and it looks pretty good actually. So you don't have to wait patiently for me to finish grading my one. Obviously, if you do still want to support me, then do check out my Patreon, and my version of it will be put onto my Patreon. But there's also the Lion Brand one, and I'm happy to give any advice or any help to anyone who needs help understanding that pattern. But yeah, these are the front panels. Strap in, because there's a lot going on. It took me a long while. This video is using many of the same techniques as in the previous video, but I don't want to blab about it right now. Let's get into the video. So to start off, as we did before, I'm doing the tubular cast on. So here I'm just starting with the scrap yarn. I actually learnt how to do tubular cast on for this project exactly, and I've now done it so many times that it just comes so naturally to me, and I think at the moment it's my preferred cast on. It just gives such a nice edge, and this bit, which used to absolutely baffle me, is now second nature, and I can whip it up really quickly. So that's what I'm doing now, and then I'm just knitting a few rows, one by one rib knitting a few rows until I can take the scrap yarn out, just so I make sure that it's all secure. This is quite a nerve-wracking bit because you have a look to see whether or not you've done it properly, but when you have done it properly, it looks amazing. Look how clean and smooth it is. Ooh. Now I'm just going to continue on with the knitting, remembering to do the 2 thick stripes of blue so it matches the cardigan. And this is just very simple one by one rib and adding a new colour in. The ends do look a bit messy at the moment, but it's fine. You can weave those in later and you won't even see them. And you can see here, that's how the ribbing looks, very simple. So now I'm just adding in my stitch markers so that I can section off each of the cables. It makes it so much easier for me. And with the magic of editing, you can see how it works up. So this has got to the part now where I want to start making the V-neck of the cardigan. So I want to reduce the stitches so that it meets up with the top part of the neck. So hopefully that makes a nice V. And as you can see, I'm doing slip, slip, knit, and for the other panel I'll be doing knit 2 together just to reduce those stitches. And I've run out of yarn again, which is frustrating, and I think I'm going to have to buy more. And I'm also terrible at pulling from the middle, so if you have any tips about that, do let me know, because it always just comes out in like a big yarn vomit. And now that you've got the right number of stitches to meet the top shoulder part, it looks like this. Sorry about the guitar playing in the background. Believe it or not, this was the quietest room to film in. So I've realised I'm not entirely happy with it, and for a number of reasons. Number one is the V is nowhere near as dramatic as I thought it would be, and I think this plays into the fact that this is too thin. I think it's not as like wide as I wanted it to be, and so therefore the V is just not very obvious. And I also want to add some stitches next to this big cable just so it doesn't look really warped and weird. So I'm going to go back to the cable chart. I'm going to probably add in like a section of double moss. I hope everyone's okay, but you could have taken a different route. So yeah, I'm probably gonna leave this as it is, make the other side but edited, and then compare and see which ones I prefer. One of them will have to be completely frogged and redone, but it's not an issue because it's the front part and it works up really quick, so that's fine. So that's what I'm gonna do now. Just a tip for new designers, don't make one of your first designs a cable chart because it is very difficult and the maths is very confusing. Okay, so I think I've done it. I think I'm happy with how it's looking in the cable chart. So I'm going to go ahead and knit that up. I'm not going to show you guys me knitting it because you've already seen me knit the other one. It's just the same thing but more decreases. So I'll be back in a second. For you guys it's a second, for me it's like a couple of days, with the finished front left side of the piece, and then we can see which one I prefer. Okay, so I have finished the right hand piece, and as I'll show you in like some little clips over this, basically it's better, like it's thicker and you can see the V a lot more, but I'm still not entirely happy with it. I think there's a lot more that I can do to change it to make it more like the actual Folklore cardigan. I guess this is just the realities of designing, and especially designing a piece just from a picture alongside maybe cutting some corners on my part. I'm going to frog the left hand panel, then I'm going to redesign it to be somewhat like the one I've just finished, but just change it around a bit, move the second patch of double moss stitch so it's a lot more like the actual cardigan. It's not going to be as quick as I was hoping it would be, but hopefully the end result is exactly what I want it to be rather than just settling for less. And maybe that's the perfectionist in me and maybe I should just leave it as is, but I'm not gonna. So I'm basically gonna have to reknit both the front pieces. I don't know about you, but as sad as it is having to frog something, watching it is just so undeniably satisfying. So I've finished the front piece, and as you can see it's looking a lot better. I'm very happy with it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to frog the other panel and then knit it to be the same as the one I've got now. Then I'm going to need to block them so that they are the width that I want them to be, and then the front panel should hopefully be done. So what I'm going to do for the other front panel is, because it's got the right number of stitches wide, I'm probably going to put like a lifeline in and just go right down to the ribbing, but keep the ribbing, so then I don't have to redo that because the ribbing's absolutely fine, it's just the rest of it. Before I did that though, I wanted to block my front piece just so I could make sure the cables were nice and defined, and to further stretch out and even out the stitches to make them as wide as possible so that they do match the back piece. I don't know why, but just for a long time I didn't want to block my knits anymore. And then slowly I realised how important it is for me to get even stitches, and generally it doesn't take all that long to block your knits and the end result is definitely worth it once you have blocked it. Here I'm just putting the lifeline in to the last row of the ribbing, so that when I get down to frogging it, all the stitches are kept on that scrap yarn, and so I don't drop any of the stitches and I can just put them on the needles and keep knitting. So after blocking the front panel, I've realised that it's probably not going to end up being all that cropped, because I never blocked the back panel because I wasn't planning on blocking the back panel, but kind of had to block the front panel, otherwise it looks a bit weird. So I think it's going to end up being a lot longer than I was anticipating, which is fine, I guess. We'll have to see how it goes, but it's looking like it's not going to be as cropped as I want it to be. This is what happens when you cut corners when designing something, you know, you haven't taken all the steps to properly swatch. More fool me, but enjoy the process anyway, and I'm sure when I get round to writing up the pattern, I'll have have a lot more of an idea of what I'm actually doing so that you guys can know what you're in for. So if you wanted to get the pattern when it is available, it will only be available to my patrons, so head on over to my Patreon. It's at patreon.com/SmikleGoesKnitting. But yes, I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like after blocking and pre-blocking. As you can see, the panel on the left is the blocked one and the panel on the right is the unblocked one. There's such a difference between the two of them. The length is different, the width is different, and it's just a testament to how important blocking is. And I've said it before, I've said how important blocking is, but I don't always take my own advice, and this just shows that fundamentally I should be blocking all of my knits and swatches to make sure that I know how the final piece is actually going to look. And there we have it, the finished front pieces. This one is still unblocked because I currently have the back piece blocking. Lesson to everyone, always block your knits, otherwise you get loads of surprises. So this is actually a lot longer now than I originally anticipated. It now comes down to my hips rather than my waist. So this isn't going to be a cropped version, turns out. As I mentioned earlier on in the video, there was no video last week. So I just wanted to sit down and talk about that. Basically, I am in a bit of a transition period with work, and I've also recently just been sitting down and thinking about the kind of content that I want to create for you guys. I much prefer this content where I'm recreating something that you guys have seen or that I've seen that I really enjoy with knitting. And so I want to put my focus onto those projects. And as you know, as a knitter, it takes a long time to make anything. And so I was putting a lot of pressure on myself to put out weekly videos, even if I hadn't actually managed to achieve very much that week on a project. So I'd come up with different video ideas that weren't really in line with what it is I want to do with this channel, which is recreate things with knitting, design things, and that sort of thing. So I took a step back and decided that I'm going to focus on the quality of my videos and making sure it all has a general cohesion across my channel than just putting out weekly content. And hopefully you guys appreciate that, because the algorithm will not. But I want to make sure you guys have quality content that you will actually enjoy watching, rather than just different videos I've kind of quickly rushed and put together just so there is a video. So yeah, that's where I've been. Don't you worry about me. I haven't had a breakdown despite the fact I've coloured my hair. That's what I used to do when I was younger, colour my hair when I have breakdowns. Not had a breakdown, I'm absolutely fine. As I also mentioned earlier on in the video, Lion Brand have brought out their own free version of the pattern. I don't know how long it's been available for and whether or not I could have just knit that version instead of trying to think up my own version, but it's all good practice. So the Lion Brand version, I've had a look at it. The sizes are only small to medium, large to extra large, 1x to 2x. So they're not incredibly size inclusive. So that's the main reason why I'm still going to be grading and putting my version of it onto my Patreon. Obviously, it's not going to be very quick because I'm still a very new designer. So it still takes me a while to grade anything. And grading cable work I'm finding it to be very difficult. So it wouldn't surprise me if I don't get it out until this autumn or winter. But as a patron, you will get all the sizes completely free. And yeah, if you want to support me, that's the best way to support me. And while I'm not making as many videos, the best way to contact me is if you sign up to my Patreon, you'll get access to my Discord, and the Discord is the quickest way to get in contact with me because I have it on my phone and we have knit nights and we can just chat. So if you want to hang out with me, then head on over to my Patreon, and that's patreon.com/SmikleGoesKnitting. As always, if you do like this kind of video and you enjoy me and what I'm doing here, then do subscribe and like the video and leave a comment, because I need the algorithm to poke me up somehow. It really helps me out if you guys comment what you're working on or whether or not you want to knit your own version of this. And please do feel free to recommend or suggest different projects for me. I've got a lot of ideas, but I'd love to know what you guys want, or if you've seen a new trend that you really want to see me recreate, then do comment that down below. I don't know when the next video is going to come out, so if you want to make sure you get it as soon as it does come out, do hit that subscribe button. I will only ever upload on a Wednesday, just to keep that kind of consistency there. I'll see you guys around. Stay wholesome and happy knitting.